Hi, welcome back everyone. So let's see how strong your algebra skills are. In this video, I've got 10 fairly simple algebra questions, which are going to cover equations, coefficient, like terms, and indices. Let's see how many of these you could get correct. So, first one, which of these is a equation? So, this should be super simple, and hopefully everyone can get this correct. The difference between a equation and a expression, an equation has a equal sign because it says the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, whereas a expression doesn't. So the first one, which of these is a equation? Only C has a equal sign. So that is a equation. The rest of these are just expression. Nice. That was a nice warm up. Hopefully you all feel good. Okay, let's go a bit harder. Question 2. Which expression contains a term with the coefficient of -9? So the negative is really important as well. So the coefficient just means the number in front of the pronumeral. Pronumeral is the letter. So in this one, the coefficient is 9, not -9, so it's not A. What about this one? The coefficient is either 2 or 9, so again, it's not that. What about C? Coefficient is 9 or -2, so again, it's not that. Well, it has to be D, and let's double check. The coefficient of A squared is, oh, that's an interesting shape, is -9, so we know it is D. Question 3. Okay, we've talked about what coefficients are, and we've also talked about expressions. So this one we should be able to do. It's a bit tricky. Let's do it together. So state the coefficient of A squared in each of these expressions. So what we want to do is look at what's in front of the A squared. So in this case, you'll see that there is not a number in front of the A squared. That means there is a 1, because 1 multiplied by A squared is just A squared, and that's why we don't write 1 in algebra. So the coefficient of A squared in this question is 1. This one's a bit more simple. We can see it. It's -4. Okay, this one's a bit trickier. It is that. So this fraction, remember there's a 1 over here if we don't have a number. So we could write this as 1 take away 1A squared on 5. And then you could see simply that the coefficient in front of the A squared is -1 on 5. So that one was probably the trickier one. D is also a bit tricky. It's using the same principle. But hopefully you could see that. Also notice we always put the negative either on the top. So you either write the negative on the top, or you could write it on the side of a fraction. So it doesn't matter which one. It's not convention to leave the negative on the denominator on the bottom. It's always either on the top or on the side. Okay, and then using that same principle, we could see that the coefficient of A squared in question D is -7 on 3. So hopefully that makes sense, and it's pretty simple now. Okay, how are we doing? Hopefully you're getting 3 out of 3 so far. Question 4. So decide whether the following pairs are like terms or not. So like terms need exactly the same letter, but it doesn't matter the order. So, and the order doesn't matter is because when we multiply, we get the same answer. For instance, if I asked you what 5 times 2 is, or what 2 times 5 is, the order doesn't matter. Both of them would give you 10. So that's why in algebra, when you've got pronumerals, letters next to each other, we're just multiplying them. And the order doesn't matter, because when you multiply, you get the same answer. It doesn't matter what the order is. So we need exactly the same letters. So here we have xy and yx. So these are like terms because we've got exactly the same letter. What about over here? We've got a squared b, and again, we have ba squared. Again, they're the same. It's just the order is different. This just says 7 times a squared times b. This one says a neg 7 times a squared, sorry, times b times a squared. Again, these two letters are exactly the same. They're just in different orders. So this would be like terms. How about C? Well, we've got ABC squared, and in this one, you've got AB squared C. So they're not the same. The letters are not the same. In the first term, the C is squared, whereas in the second one, only the B is squared. So this one would be not like. So only A and B are like terms in this. Okay, and then our final question. Let's evaluate these indices with negatives. So our first one says -3 in brackets squared. So that basically means neg3 times neg3. A negative multiplied by a negative is a positive. So this should be +9. What about B? Well, that says neg2 cubed. So that's neg2 times neg2 times neg2. So let's just do the numbers first. 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. What about the sign? Well, we've got a neg times a neg, which is a positive. And then you've got a positive times a negative, which would mean it is negative. So it should be -8. So it's really important you recognize the sign. A little hack is if you've got brackets and you've got an even number up here, it will always give you a positive answer. If you've got brackets and you've got an odd number, it will give you a negative answer. Okay, how about if we don't have the brackets? If I've got -2 cubed, what this is actually saying is you've got neg1 multiplied by 2 cubed. So that will be neg1 times 8, and neg1 times 8 is -8. Okay, so it's the same as that. However, D is different to A. We don't have the brackets, we've got neg3 squared. So remember what this means is neg1 multiplied by 3 squared, which would be neg1 multiplied by 9, which is -9. So in the first one, we got +9 when you have the brackets. When you don't have the brackets, you get -9. Perfect. So hopefully you were able to get 5 out of 5. If not, hopefully you understood how to get 5 out of 5. Thank you for watching and see you next time.